towards it. They're pre-inclined towards it for two major reasons, I think.
As if what Martin Indyk says is powerful because people in Congress are afraid of the wrath that may come down on them
and
from organisations like AIPAC. You're on record as saying
and the
that.
wrath, as with the National Rifle Association and with the most powerful lobby of all, which is that to do with old people in America, is about the fact that people agree with them. I was going to say that the foundation myth of America is very, very similar to the foundation myth of Israel. And the perception of Israel as a democracy in a sea of autocracy is an incredibly powerful reason for ordinary Americans, and educated Americans in particular, to be predisposed, probably too predisposed towards Israel.
And you say no attempt to stifle debate here. Independent Jewish Voices, an organisation that you've actually written about, claim that they are vilified because they take a different line from mainstream Jewish organisations.
Hold on. Who gives you the right not to be vilified in a debate? I'll show you letters that I got just this morning.
Well, they say vigour is one thing, vilification is another. An extraordinary amount of abusive language, ridicule and attacks on our character and motives.
Right, I wrote about them and I said, oh no, hold on. I wrote about them and said I thought they were wrong. I didn't vilify them. They might write about me and say I'm wrong. They didn't vilify me. But, no, they have done and responded. But people will vilify both of us, and I get vilified as much as they get vilified. There's a lot of vilification going on. I'll show you my post.
I can show you mine too. Thank you very much. David Aaronovitch, thank you very much indeed. All right, we're going to take some questions now from the floor. There's a gentleman with his hand up at the end of the row there in the brown shirt there, please.
I have questions for Martin Indyk and for David Aaronovitch. Both of you focused on exceptions, citing cases where people have succeeded to publish books and so on. But the fact of the matter is that in daily policy, in daily news coverage, we have an ongoing situation where the conflict is misrepresented. In America, you'd never see any argument for Palestine on Fox News. You'd never think that Palestine is occupied in CNN and that there are severe racial discrimination laws within Israeli society.
And your question, please.
Yes.
Can we come to a question, please?
Yes. Can you please address that? And the other question is, why...
We only have time for one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but here in Oxford, as a student organizer, I would like to mention that here in Oxford we were denied rooms to speak about Palestine. So how can you claim the debate isn't stifled in England? Thank you.
In the United States, it's true that Fox News is hardly fair and balanced in its approach to any subject. I think CNN does a much better job. But on the question of the Palestinians getting their story out, I just think that that's another myth. I think the Palestinians' story is out there day in and day out, and it's reported from all sides, and it's reported in all of the major newspapers as well as the mainstream television networks. And you know, the same argument is made about the BBC, that the BBC is somehow pro-Arab and anti-Israel. And I think that this is simply a manifestation of people not liking what they see because they happen to have a different point of view. But the notion that the Palestinian cause is not getting covered in the United States is simply flat out wrong. It gets huge coverage.
I don't know the specific circumstances under which you couldn't get a room for a Palestine meeting here. But there are hundreds all over the country of Palestinian meetings happily being held all over the place. Both sides, incidentally, call foul on each other in British academic life, as I'm sure you're aware, continuously. Jewish students continually say that the student unions are trying to do them down, and so do Muslim students continuously say. And I learned as president of the National Union of Students, it was part of the warp and weft of the way in which students debated things. But if you seriously want a Palestinian meeting here in Oxford, I think you could get a place to have a meeting for it at a click of a finger.
All right, lady in the fourth row then. We'll get a microphone to you. Yeah, you have your hand up still. Could you stand up, please?
Good evening. My question is for the team against the motion. The Jewish community in the US is one of the most powerful communities in terms of financial power and political influence. Don't you think that these elements play a role in steering the US foreign policy towards Israel's interests or in favor of these interests?
I think it's true to say that the Israel lobby in Washington is a powerful lobby. It proclaims its power openly. And certainly the Jewish community has both financial resources and political weight certainly in the Democratic Party, but in certain other places as well. But it's important to understand, and I don't think that it's fully appreciated by people who have not lived in the United States, that our political system is different to the political system, say, here in England. The political system in the United States depends on the lobbying process. There is a vast avenue called K Street in Washington, full of these 12-story high buildings that is densely populated with lobbyists.
They don't all have $50 million at their disposal.
And yes, so the Israel lobby is effective. But as David said, I'll just back it up because I think he's exactly right. For the last 30 years, 60% or more of the American people have a favourable impression of Israel. And the most the Palestinians have ever scored on that scale has been, I think, 20%. Yes, that's just a reality. That's not because of the power of the Israel lobby. That's